Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? One second.
Mute now. Okay.
There we go.
You can hear me now? Okay.
I can hear you now. Hi, Emma. How are you? There we go. I just unmuted you. Sorry.
Oh, hi. I'm well. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you.
Good.
Still figuring out this Zoom thing, so I won't move around too much because clearly the background's not working so great.
Yeah, I just decided to go with the just regular wall background.
That's probably smart.
Yeah. So we're expecting around 50 people?
We have about 45, I think 46 that signed up today, so that's a great number.
Yeah, that is good. Wow. And you are literally in a bakery. Wow.
That took a while to find that background, I'll be honest. The last week, Zach, I put like one of our social media posts on there, and it was like a baker. So he was like over my shoulder. That was a little too awkward. So we're in a safe environment with just a bakery behind me.
I heard of someone, they took a picture of their own house, but like clean, and then just kept it as the background. So then they didn't have to care about.
That's super smart.
I guess so. You can call it smart.
Right, exactly. Hey, Lynn. I'm gonna unmute all right now, but then as everyone gets on, we'll mute everybody and except for Zach and I, and then we'll get started. Well, not yet, but.
Thanks for doing this.
Oh, we're so glad to. It's just the best way to, I mean, now granted, we're still learning. Hi, Monica. But it's a great way to kind of get everybody on the same page at least.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn, how are you guys doing in Minnesota? She can't hear us yet. Can you hear me, Lynn? That's okay. We'll come back. So Zach, you got my message about the slides?
Yes, I'll just share them.
Perfect.
I'll share my screen once I'm on.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody for right now. Mute all. There we go. Yes. Okay. I do have the chat box up, so hopefully you can see what's happening on the chat box too. I'm just asking where everybody is from. Hey, John, how are you? Let me unmute you. Hold on. Are you unmuted, John? Can everybody hear me okay? That's the question. Okay, good. Thank you. I do have everybody's line muted, but if you have something to say, we can for sure unmute your line. We need like on hold music. Just something. I mean, I could sing, but it'd be weird. Absolutely not. We'd have zero membership if I start singing.
So Bernadette, whose bakery are you at?
Today I'm at the Cupcake Boutique. My silly backgrounds. Hey, Beth. So we have a lot joining in right now, which is great. So Zach, we have Lynn and John, who are both from Minnesota, and Zach is born and raised in Minnesota, even though he's switched to the East Coast right now. But there you go, Zach, I unmuted you.
Yeah, I'm from Forest Lake. I don't know if you're familiar.
Hi, Mark. You know what? I'm going to unmute everybody just as we all get settled here. Sorry. Now you're all unmuted. Don't make any silly noises.
Okay,
Hey, Jack.
Something
yeah,
embarrassing.
I'm in White Bear
I
Lake.
know where
Jack.
Forest Lake
Oh,
is.
White Bear Lake. Okay.
Yep.
I
And I'm in,
play tennis at the Lifetime Fitness there all the time.
Yep.
Hey, Bill.
Hello. Hi, Bernadette.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good. Good. Thank you.
Hey, Billy.
Hello. How are you?
And we have the bun man on too. I think he's connecting to audio. So we'll have to give him a minute.
Fun, man. I love it.
Yeah, but I would keep the red trays all together or try to like do
And now we're going to mute everybody.
Yeah, good plan.
Okay. There we go. Zach, I do have you unmuted just so you know.
Okay. Good to know.
And then on the side there, I was just asking in the chat, the group chat where everybody is from. That way everyone can kind of see where our participants are coming from. And Zach, we'll just give it maybe 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
And hopefully more folks will join on. I know we had about, I think about 40 sign up, 40, 45, somewhere in there. And I think we just about have half of that right now, so.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
Zach, quick question.
Yes.
If I make you the host, will they be able to see your slides? Is that how it would work? Because I actually no longer see this share screen.
Let's see.
Okay.
If I go ahead and do this, what can you see right now?
I see your screen. That's perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. The only thing I don't see now, though, is people coming in. Oh, there we go. Never mind. I found it. So we're just, if everyone's okay with it, we'll get started. I know we have about 10 more that may or may not sign on, but did register. Thank you all for being on our second town hall meeting for the Retail Bakers of America. For those who may not know who I am, I'm Bernadette. I'm the Director of Operations. And I appreciate these town hall meetings so much because our members need all of the information we can get at this moment. I think last week was a little bit of just maybe even sheer panic. I think this week we're all sort of settling into what our new norm is, whatever that may be, if it's that we're staying open or we're closing doors or we're letting staff go or we're ramping up, whatever that is for everybody. So I want to introduce Zach Decker. And Zach, I'll let you take it away, but Zach is from the American Bakers Association, and that is a group that we have a very strong partnership with. And at ABA, they do a lot of things like lobbying and really speaking on the bakers' behalf. So we appreciate that partnership so much. So Zach, I'm going to let you go ahead and take it away.
Okay.
It's all you.
I appreciate the introduction. I'll give you a little bit more about me in a second. But just to start off, I want to say thank you to all of you that are really braving this tough situation. We talk to our members a lot, which is more on the wholesale side, but we understand that this is unprecedented and it's scary and it's tough to really know what to do. So we're trying our best to be of service to the whole baking industry. So if you have any questions after this presentation, please reach out to me. My contact information will be in here. We're really here for you, and we know that this is unbelievably tough. I know that this is going to be kind of a difficult subject to navigate, but I'm going to be completely candid with you, and hopefully it'll be informative. Like Bernadette said, I work for the American Bakers Association, and we are the wholesale side. And we are based in Washington, D.C., and our mission is we're the voice of the wholesale baking industry. So we do, like she said, we do a lot of lobbying. That's mostly what my job entails. I do a lot of legislative tracking, so I'm probably going to be a little bit more well-versed in the actual stimulus package section of this presentation rather than the small business loans. That being said, I've done a lot of research in the last few days, and I think that this presentation will at least be a good starting point for you in figuring out kind of what the best course of action for your business is. A few disclaimers: I'm not a tax lawyer, and I won't claim to be. So if you have any kind of nitty-gritty questions, I would definitely refer you to either your lender or your bank, because they're going to be a lot more versed in that. So this is kind of also my first foray into the world of the Small Business Administration. And until kind of 2 weeks ago, it was a relatively very small agency within the federal government, and that's kind of being ramped up. So everyone's knowledge of how they operate is, I would say, less than optimal. So everyone's kind of operating on kind of the information that's coming out right now. So it will get clearer in terms of kind of what the best plan of action to do is. That being said, obviously, you guys want to act as soon as possible, so that's why we're here. Okay, so enough kind of introductory material. I just want to jump in. Can everyone see my slides that I'm showing right now? Yes. Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so the first section that Bernadette and I decided would be about this phase 3 stimulus package, which is called the CARES Act, and the official name is there on your screen. So this is phase 3 of basically coronavirus stimulus packages, and the first 2 were relatively small compared to this one. So I've kind of listed quick summaries of the first 2. The first one was a very small loan package, and that was a little bit, maybe a month before this one was passed. And then the second one, which you probably have a little bit more knowledge of, is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and that one is much more dealing with paid leave. And unfortunately, I am not a labor expert. We do have a labor expert on our staff at ABA, so I haven't really touched that one as much. And if you do have any lingering questions about that, please reach out to me and I can refer you to her. But for the purposes of this presentation, we're focusing on the phase 3 package, which is really a behemoth when it comes to stimulus packages and bills overall. So it's 880 pages long and appropriates over $2 trillion. I know you've probably heard that figure more than a few times in the last few days. And it really is far-reaching in terms of they were really trying to push money out to a lot of different areas, both individuals, businesses, large and small, and kind of using a number of different methods. So, and we'll get into that further. Quick note, phase 4 is expected. There's a lot of question marks regarding that, kind of what it will cover and when they expect to kind of pass it through to the president. There's a lot of rumors. The best guess is kind of like telecom services will be targeted. Really, we're all in the dark. And the House and Senate actually just went on a recess until April 20th. So kind of the immediacy of that package now is in severe doubt. But be on the lookout for information regarding that. Okay, so getting into the CARES Act, as I pretty much will kind of only call it now, there are kind of 2 big pots of money for businesses, and they're kind of divided between large and small. So we'll cover the large business provisions first, kind of just really quickly, so you know about it, but obviously the small businesses are going to be more applicable. So the pot of money for the corporate enterprise, about $500 billion, and this is much more targeted. I have the airline industry as an example, so it's obviously targeted at industries that are, going to experience catastrophic losses due to the coronavirus. Think hotels, think, all those industries that are hurting. Obviously, your business is tremendously affected by the coronavirus. Some businesses, cruise ship industry, though I think they might have gotten cut out at the final second, are completely non-operational. I had a note about that. Yeah, and so there's a couple kind of hairy provisions within there that are basically force these large companies not to be able to pay off their executives a lot of money. So a lot of the 880 pages of the bills are kind of stipulations on kind of what you can and can't use the money on. That being said, largely doesn't apply, and we'll move on to kind of the small business portion. Okay, so the small business loan amount is now, it's at $349 billion, and I believe there are a few more kind of pots within the $2 trillion that might funnel into it, but that's the the most common estimate that I've heard from both our legal counsel and a number of analyses. And so most interesting to the small business section is that payroll protection program that this act creates. And that's kind of going to be the focus of the second section of our town hall here. And I don't want to give too much detail away because we won't have enough content for the second section. But basically that's going to be when people talk about forgivable loans, that's really the big section. And for you guys, I don't think that any of you are over 500 employees. Bernadette, is that true? Okay, so if you don't apply to this, please reach out to me, but I'm pretty sure that everyone here has under 500 employees. Commercial bakeries, which are more wholesale, can apply if they're under 1,000, but for retail bakeries, it's set at 500. But really, I wouldn't worry about that. The most common kind of language that I've heard from the Small Business Administration is that more businesses apply than that wouldn't think that they would necessarily apply. So please seek out information if you are unsure. Okay. Diving into the payroll protection program just a little bit more, you can obtain a loan up to $10 million. And, but that being said, not everyone, they're not going to grant that much money to everyone. The way they typically will calculate it is 2.5 times your average monthly payroll costs from 2019. And the advantage of this program compared to other loans that we'll discuss later is that basically 100% of this can be forgiven if you meet certain criteria when spending this money and applying for the loan. That fourth point, I really want to harp on really quickly and say that I think I discussed the kind of the increase in budget in that yearly the Small Business Administration was at about $40 to $50 billion that they were doling out per year, and now they've moved up to almost 400 billion. So that's requiring them to really ramp up both implementation and just like admin implementation. So I was listening to a press conference, and you were probably listening to that the president was having, and Mnuchin was talking and was saying that he hopes to have lenders kind of in place ready to dole out this 350 billion by the end of this week. A lot of experts kind of cast doubt whether that it's going to be that quick. So that is definitely something to be on the watch out for. I will say that everyone is still kind of awaiting guidance from the Small Business Administration regarding the actual, I would say, procedures when going to your lenders. So once we have that, I will distribute that to everyone. That being said, this is probably the best option for most of everyone who wants to at least qualify for what I would say the grant portion. 2 quick points at the end: backed with 100% federal guarantee, and then defers pre-existing SBA loans up to, it's 6 months up to a year. Moving on, just some other quick notable provisions in this bill. I'm guessing everyone has heard the, everyone's gonna get $1,200 if you make less than 75K. That is doubled for couples who make less than 150K. A quick unemployment benefit there is $600 per week for up to 4 months. I believe it's children, you get $500. Yeah. So those are some quick direct benefits. And then other appropriations, obviously, we'd like to really aid the healthcare industry. So there's quite a bit of money going to that. And then also quite a bit of money going to the state and local governments where, if I can just pause on that for a second, that's kind of where the fight is. So the federal government, in a lot of respects, can't actually issue directives. They can really only issue guidance for the state and local authorities to both combat the virus in healthcare and also kind of locking down society as we know it. So that's where a lot of the fight is. And if you haven't yet, I would check in with your state and local municipalities just to make sure that you understand kind of what's happening at a local level, because that's really, I know at ABA, that's really been not a frustration, but that's been a huge issue for us in kind of making sure that all businesses are complying with everything that's out there, because every single city in the United States is issuing different rules, or just things that even if we don't know, we have to go check. So that I would just, covering the bases here, I would check with your local jurisdictions. I think that's it for the CARES Act section. I guess we'll open it up for questions. Bernadette?
Yep, let me unmute everybody and give me just 1 second.
Yeah, and if we want to direct most of these questions in terms of kind of the structure of the bill or the payroll protection program, that would be helpful, because we'll get into a little bit more of the actual loan details in the second portion.
Hey, Zach, can you give me back the screen? And then
yes,
I can
I'm sorry.
unmute everyone. Thank you. And then we also have the chat box on the other side as well. So if you have some questions, you can throw them in the chat box, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
So one of the questions, Zach, is, are 1099s included in monthly payroll costs?
Okay, so that's a question that I don't know off the top of my head. In terms of, I would say yes, because they've made it more inclusive than not, but please make sure that you actually ask your tax expert. And for the payroll protection program, because you're going to be seeking this from either your existing bank or a new bank, that they're really going to be your point of contact with what is included and what isn't. But for right now, I would say yes.
And it looks like a few people are answering on the side too, that they have heard the same thing, that they believe that it would be included.
Yeah. So just a brief caveat: they've made kind of what you can spend this money on in extremely broad, because they understand that this is an unprecedented situation. So they're trying to be as cognizant of that as they can.
Any other questions for this section of it? Okay, so we have a few coming in. For those employers that already laid off their staff, will we be able to bring them back once funding for payroll is available, or do we have to leave them working to be eligible?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I will explain kind of where that is in the second section, but in order to basically qualify for all of your loan to be a grant, you would have to then bring them back on payroll by June 30th. And keep in mind, it is a proportional amount. So if you don't bring your entire workforce back, it'll be basically the grant portion is conditional on, how much of your workforce that you either keep in place or rehire. So the deadline is really June 30th if you're going to rehire people to qualify for grant money.
And Zach, you had mentioned before too that the reports that that the bakers will have to put together will include payroll from Jan 1, is it? So that they can see the payroll. So it's not based on who's on your payroll right this moment. It's based on who was on your payroll starting when. Does that make sense?
Right. Okay, so I believe they might actually take it from 2019. They're just
Okay.
doing a year. So I believe it'll be the same period in 2019 compared to 2020.
And then we've got some on the side here. It says per accounting firms, it's a 12-month look back from the date of the
Right.
loan
Yeah,
application. So
exactly.
there you go. That's great.
Thank you.
And then from Francis, additional advice was to start calculating your payroll costs now, because as soon as this opened up, the money will go quickly. So,
Right.
and that's what we'll get in the next side of it too, like what you can do to prepare yourself now for those loans.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And then there's a lot of great comments on the side chat there, so be sure, I won't read them all, but be sure to kind of read those through as we're going through, because I think a lot of people are, you know, have some great information.
Okay. Yeah, and thank you for anyone who's providing information that I might know. You guys are obviously much more antiquated with kind of the filing and paperwork side. As a government relations manager, I often look at the legislative side. So thank you for those comments.
So Zach, if we want to go on to the next section, then I think that'd
Sure.
be great, because I think it's perfect timing.
Okay. All right. So can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. We're just gonna go back through it. Okay, so I understand this is probably the section that's probably gonna be more interesting to you. So just to quickly explain, you're gonna hear kind of two main programs that could be of great assistance to you. The first is the Paycheck Protection Program. And that one's the only one that was created in this phase 3 stimulus package. And then you'll also hear about economic injury disaster loans, which I'll often refer to as EIDLs. And so those have been around for a while. The first phase of the stimulus packages also apportioned money to that, and the phase 3 kind of increased it and enhanced what those can do. And keep in mind, you can apply for both, but some restrictions apply in terms of harnessing both of the benefits within each. Okay, so just to very quickly touch on eligibility. I think we already did this, but everyone should be under 500 employees. I will be sending out these slides afterwards, or I think Bernadette might be, and these links that are in this section will be clickable. So worry not if you can't find it now. The exceptions were much more related to kind of my existing members at ABA, because many are over 1,000 employees. The only thing that I want to say about the eligibility section is that they've cut out certain food service businesses that if each location is under 500 employees, they can then each individually apply for small business loans. Food service is the only sector that's available for that, but that is one thing of big note. Okay, so record keeping. I've listened to a number of expert testimonies and analyses, and so basically they really recommend pretty much everything that you can be ready to hand over to either the SBA or your local lenders, and that would be like banks, local financial institutions, because the guidance for the payroll protection program is not out yet. I can't tell you exactly what you're going to need to provide to them. And I know that's not a particularly satisfactory answer, but I've just heard that pretty much everything that you have that you can document will help you. Okay, so just to back up, and we've already heard about the 2.5 monthly average for 2019. I don't think anyone's a seasonal business. Is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Bernadette?
Some might be, some might have like summer towns. Like I know Lynn, where you are, her bakery ramps up during the summer because it's like a lake town.
Okay.
So some might be, on average, probably not, but some might be.
Okay. SBA.gov has information on how to calculate your monthly payroll if you are a seasonal business. But that being said, it like Bernadette said, is the 12-month look back for payroll. The payroll protection program can give you a loan of up to $10 million. That being said, it's going to be proportional based on your business size. What you can spend the money on, we've discussed that a little bit earlier, but it's particularly inclusive. So payroll, mortgage obligations, rent, utilities, you name it. And like I said, because this is part of the payroll protection program, the guidance is still forthcoming. And so I would honestly expect in the next few days, if you listen to the daily press conferences that the president has, I would expect to see Secretary Mnuchin up there in the next few days saying that the guidance is out and follow these steps then. And when that comes out, obviously reach out to me and I will help you. So what's really cool about these loans is that you are able to use the funds for any 8 weeks that you want between the period of February 15th to June 30th. And I think the intent behind that is that not every location experiences this crisis the same way, in the sense that sometimes it's a little delayed, especially compared to what your state and local government is doing. So they've created a little bit of flexibility when it comes to that, and so you can see the range of dates that are available to spend the money on, and keep in mind that that's for loan forgiveness. So if you spend money on outside of that, you can do that, but it's not forgiven. It's not eligible for the grant, basically, later on. If you're unsure, so go to SBA.gov. I mean, I'll probably say this a few more times in this section, but SBA.gov is really your one-stop shop. Unfortunately, so I've reached out to SBA.gov or just the administration by phone, and every time I've called, I've been kind of in the 1,000 range in terms of being on hold. I was telling Bernadette yesterday that I was 1402 on hold. So right now they're just kind of ill-equipped for what was dropped on them. That being said, don't hesitate to try to reach out to them, but getting to talk to a human might be tough. And that's why they've kind of, when they're going to roll this out, it's really the banks that are the controllers of it. And so you'll go through them. So they've decentralized this, but they've backed it with the federal backing to make sure that these loans are effective. Let's see. This, like I said, this is not an exhaustive list. Yeah, that's it I have for that. Okay, so the terms, it's up to 10 years. interest rate no higher than 4%, no collateral needed for these loans. And for the section that most people are interested in is the loan forgiveness. So repayment on these loans is automatically deferred for 6 to 12 months. And then you really want to check with your bank in terms of making sure that you can kind of recoup as much of the money as you hope to. So it's calculated based on either the share of workforce that you keep on payroll or the share of workforce that you are going to rehire by the end of June. Don't ask me why they chose the end of June as that deadline. I think many people think that that's kind of too soon, and I might agree, but a lot of the coronavirus response has kind of been kicking the can down the road in terms of just maybe it'll be better then. So they've chosen that date as kind of the cutoff. Let's see. So the payroll protection program is not to be confused with the EIDLs, which we'll talk about in a second. Really, the big advantage of the PPP is the large amount of loan forgiveness that you can qualify for. The EIDLs do have a small section that it is you can be eligible for the loan forgiveness, but the vast majority of it is not. That being said, the EIDL's infrastructure is up and running. So if you are really hoping for a quick response, the EIDL might be a good option. Okay, so moving on to those. So they are different. The cap here is at 2 million, slightly lower interest rate, but the only amount that can be forgiven is $10,000 upfront. That being said, if you are hoping, like I said, if you're hoping for quick relief, that $10,000 grant can be made available to you in as little as 3 days. I haven't checked with anyone to see whether that they've delivered on that. I believe them, but that being said, because the SBA is really ramping up, it might take 5 days, but I'm really hoping that this portion of all of their promises that they can deliver on. Because the EIDLs were kind of ramped up in the phase 1, which happened earlier, people are able to access these funds quickly. And so that portion of the SBA.gov is up. You can apply for that right now. And it'll tell you everything that you need to know in terms of what paperwork to submit. The amount is based on your credit score. So there are fewer hoops to jump through in terms of documenting to get the money.
Zach, we had one quick question on the side
Yes.
here. It said, I was told that the PPP also has a 10,000 grant up front. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's part of this in that you can do both, but you can't get basically the $10,000 cash advance is the EIDL, but it exempts you from being able to then use that 10,000 in the PPP, if that makes sense. So you have to apply for both, and I honestly encourage everyone to at least apply for the EIDL because of that $10,000 grant. But it also, basically the point I want to drive home is that there's no double dipping. And yeah, so you just want to make sure that you're not signing up for an EIDL and taking more than 10,000 and then realizing that past that 10,000, that money is not actually available to be a grant. Whereas in the PPP, all of it's available for a grant as long as you meet their stipulations, but you can't get the money as quickly. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so I know this will probably kind of devolve into a longer conversation, but I've got some links there. What I really recommend is to reach out to your existing bank and ask them, you know, are you an SBA lender? Do you use 7A loans? Because if they do, that's going to save you a lot of time because you already have that infrastructure put in place. That being said, if they're not, maybe ask them to refer you to a local bank that is a 7A lender. Do a little homework in terms of asking institutions around you that may or may not be a 7A lender. Like I said, Mnuchin has put the power in the banks because they want to make sure that this is distributed quickly. So once they have issued those guidances, the banks then are the contact points for the PPP. Keep in mind the EIDLs are always available to apply for. Those you do online, those can be immediately accepted, or at least within 3 days, you can receive the $10,000 that's available for the grants. Okay, I think that's it that I have for kind of scheduled programming, but I'm happy to answer any kind of lingering questions.
So one comment on the side also was that from Joel, and he said his accountant recommended opening a new checking account for the proceeds and the pay expenses from this account. When it comes to requesting forgiveness, it will make it easier.
Okay, yeah, I would totally see that because you're able to kind of keep it separately. That's not something that I've heard. That being said, a lot of the analysis that I've kind of heard so far has been much more legislatively focused rather than from a tax auditor side. So any advice like that, I would definitely heed.
And then we had another question. Will the banks have the same APR? And then sorry if that's a rookie question. There are no rookie questions on this call.
So the way is that, yes, in the sense that they will be administering all of this the same. So basically, they're not going to have different interest rates because they're not using their own collateral. They're using the Fed's money. They're using government funds, and it's just that it's backed by that, so they're using all of the same principles.
And then, Zach, if you can unshare your screen, I guess, and then that way I
Sure.
can have the controls back.
Yeah.
We can certainly then open it up for questions. I can unmute lines as we go. We did try to unmute everybody on the last one, and we, had a few conversations in the background. So we can, as soon as we get this, there we go. Hi, everybody. So what I can do is either you can ask your question off on the chat, or I can unmute your line if you give me a wave or a thumbs up. We do have a question from Emma, and she said, have the utilities been defined yet?
No. So those we hope are in the guidance. I don't think that, let me know if you have problems with what as the utilities. Like I said, So the bill that they got through was pretty, the conservatives designed a lot of the financial assistance part. So it's less tied up in terms of definitions like that than you might think.
So I'm going to unmute lines. I know prior to the call, we had a few people that emailed that said they may have some really good suggestions or what things that they're doing. So I'm going to unmute all of your lines. And that way we can maybe have a discussion for our last 15 minutes or so.
Sure.
So you are all unmuted. No more swearing in the background.
So just swearing right out to
Yeah,
you.
right. Now just put it right on into your microphone.
And you might recognize my face. I was at IBIE if you were there. I was in the ABA booth.
So what is everybody's plan as far as either are you opened or have you decided to close right now? What is the general feeling on the call right now?
Well, because we are wholesaling to grocery stores, we're actually open, and we're doing about 70% of the business we usually do.
Ouch.
I just want to caution people on this. I mean, it might look like a lot of money, 2.5 times your average monthly payroll, but really it isn't. I don't think we're going to be 100% right away. It's going to take time to ramp up. The new normal is not going to be the old normal. And I think you've really got to play things close to the vest and watch every penny from here on out, know your numbers and know them well, and be ready to adjust, be nimble. Reinvent yourself in this time period where, adjust your business and your strategy so that you're ready when things do start to come back, and be prepared to take advantage of that. But be cautious, because this is a wonderful program, absolutely wonderful program. This could really save us.
I echo those sentiments.
Sorry, who was that? You can speak up a little louder. That would be great. Has anybody decided to, are you closed at the moment? I know Beth stepped away, but I know Creative Cakes, Monica, you guys are as well?
Yeah, we're closed right now. Temporarily, we said through April 7th, because that's the mandatory shelter in Chicago and all of Illinois. But we expect that to be expanded or extended within the next few days. So our plan is to stay closed as long as that's in force.
That's how I'm doing it in
Hopefully
Indiana
through
as
April
well.
30th. Yeah.
I'm Kara from the Sweet Side in Seattle, and we've been closed since the 21st was our last day open, because we are so event-based, and events were obviously like the first time to be closed down. So we're closed the 21st and expect to be closed possibly through April at least.
Everybody to do
But
this.
I'm hoping to use this PPP
And
as a
the
way to
other.
get my employees back in the door and start creating sugar
What's the matter?
inventory for later in the year.
Yeah,
And
we're in the
just-
same boat.
Just to remind everybody, you're all unmuted.
Right. In Michigan, we closed on March 21st. We're custom cakes, event-based, like Kara said. We made the choice to close despite the fact that we have some pretty, I think, liberal takeout laws. Not laws, but stipulations. But our feeling is we are not essential, and we just want to get the community back to health and the world back to health so we can get back to normal. As of now, Governor Whitmer said we're going back on the 13th. I don't think we're going back until probably end of April, end of May.
Wow, yes.
I'm just outside of St. Louis, Missouri, and I have 2 storefronts. One of them has been closed since the 14th, and the other one we closed, and we're doing curbside only just on Saturdays. And I've taken it down to just me and my husband because we're completely quarantined. We tried to keep our employees on staff, but they seem to not understand the quarantine, and all are continuing to go out and, you know, party with friends and kind of treat it like a vacation. So we just opted to furlough everyone. And so with doing just curbside and not letting people come in, it was like the most stressful baking competition ever. So I have decided to just kind of, we're doing curbside, we're putting the menu up on Wednesdays and letting them order for Saturdays. And then that way I can set my quantities, I know what I can make in a day, and it's Square as allowing it to sell out. And so that has been really good for us. It's made for a crazy Saturday, but it's been enough for us to pay the mortgage on both of our buildings, to continue to put into our unemployment. And we are still paying our employees health insurance while they're out, even though they're furloughed, in hopes that everybody will come back.
That's great.
Hey, Paul, can you give us a little update on Sapienza Bakery? I know you guys just did a great thing not that long ago, a few days ago, but you just decided to close as well, correct?
Yeah, we did. We're actually allowed to be open according to New York state law, because we only really do takeout. So we put a sign up. We were only allowing 1 or 2 people in the store at a time. And we did that for about 4 or 5 days. And our counter help are all high school girls. There's about 10 or 12 of them. 2 of the parents wouldn't allow the kids to work. The other one started getting nervous about catching it. We have a lot higher concentration here in New York, so it's a little bit more ominous. And we actually then started worrying about our own health, and we just figured it wasn't worth it. During that time that we were doing the takeout only with the 1 or 2 customers, we were only doing 30% of our normal sales. So we figured it really wasn't worth it to keep going.
We had a baker on the last call, and I believe it was Patty from Patty Cakes in Arkansas. And one of the things that's helping them at least stay open is that they've added in some grocery items into the bakery. Has anybody started that at all? Or if you're allowed to, I know different states have different rules, but is that something some bakeries are starting to do, like eggs and milk and toiletries and that kind of thing? Not really.
We thought we were going to start into that.
Get toilet paper, we'd make $1 million.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
we've just been providing it. We're in a very residential area, so for folks that have been picking up, and we've got some elderly neighbors, we've been doing like eggs, and we get, you know, our commercial toilet paper. It's not the best, but it's there. So people have been happy with us being able to at least provide that. A lot of our distributors have dropped their minimum orders, and so they'll deliver, you know, 2 cases. So long as I think it's $50 now, almost all of our distributors are delivering. So we're still ordering things and kind of distributing them that way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just FYI, our governor just announced that they did extend the order through the end of April.
And where?
Chicago, Illinois. Yeah.
Where are you? This is coming. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think everybody's going to fall in line.
I see somebody in the comments have asked if utilities have yet been defined. I did see it somewhere. I believe it covers electricity, gas, water, sewer, telephone, internet. I don't know if I'm missing anything, but that is typically what they define utilities in these kind of things as.
Yeah, I think it'll be inclusive.
Can I ask a question just to the group? Let's say for those of you who are in a similar situation to where we're very cake focused, very event focused. Let's say you do get the PPP. Does anyone have any magical ideas on any ideas? I can only make so many sugar flowers in preparation for the summer. Hopefully we even get a wedding season here, but what are your ideas on how are you going to strengthen your business that way?
How are we going to what? How are we going to?
What are you like if you don't have sales and customers coming in the door currently? How are people planning on using the I assume mostly payroll money? How do you plan on keeping your employees busy? Like, what are some ideas that people have kind of been kicking around to try to use to keep your employees busy that will help further your business down the road?
This is a godsend. We're going to train the hell out of them. And then we're going to give them a paintbrush. And we're going to clean the place. I can't wait.
We're also redoing all of our marketing materials. We have cake books and display cakes, and we're redoing all of that right now.
Yeah, have them start making new dummies.
Yep.
Yeah, new dummies, and start looking at trends for the upcoming seasons. And also, I mean, depending on your community and what your presence is on social media, you can offer some special confections, maybe do videos online if you're, cake and event oriented, just to try to get people. And I really think after all this, everyone's going to want a good cake. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, everybody's going to want to celebrate.
They're going to be ready to come back. And I mean, we're missing weddings, birthdays, communions, baptism. I think that while we need to meter out that money and be very careful with it, I think people are going to be ready to party when this is done.
How is everybody handling Easter and the holidays that are coming up? Is that something, especially if you're closed at the moment, is that something that, you'll be going back in just to make a few lammy cakes, or are you just
there's no more Easter?
I was going to say postpone Easter until 2021.
Easter's canceled.
Right.
I think even the Pope agreed, no more Easter.
Right.
Forget about it. We've been posting on Instagram and Facebook just kind of stuff from last year, and one of the things that I think I'm going to do this, because I'm going stir crazy, as I'm sure all of you are, maybe put out some recipes, try to stay in touch. I mean, I'm a really small business. You guys probably have way bigger businesses, but we're real small, family run, 7 employees total. So I'm just trying to keep that feel on Instagram and Facebook, things that people can do in quarantine, cookie recipes, showing me and my boys making things at home, just keeping that connection, helping them to see that we're going through it as well.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to try to do like flashbacks and shout outs to, like in this time of being thankful, shout outs to our vendor partners, and, playing tag online, and possibly doing some fun surveys or polls, first responder themed cakes, maybe posting some fun stuff like that. So, but
Joel had a good comment on the side too. Joel had mentioned that they're spotlighting their staff right now. So that might be a great thing too. Mm-hmm. So I know we only have about 5 minutes left. Is there any pressing topic that anybody has a question about, or wants to talk to the group about a great idea that you've had, or things like that? We are going to try and do these weekly. Our next one will be obviously next Tuesday. We're going to try and keep it consistent. And that will be Bronwyn Weber. And Bronwyn's going to talk to us about doing, some bridal consulting online. Like what you need to have, what kind of things you should be doing, even though we're not able to be in the bakery and maybe create that awesome custom cake right now, but still keeping those orders coming so that when wedding season does come back around, hopefully in 2020, that we're still ready to go and orders are still coming in. So that will be next week's, and we'll post all of that information after this one is done. But now we only have a few more minutes, so if anybody has any, a question or a comment, now would be the time.
I do have one question, if you can hear me.
We can, yep, we can hear you.
Okay, so with the PPP, are we required to stay open?
No. I don't believe so.
No.
I've heard the same thing, that you are not required to stay open.
Okay. So one of the things that I'm talking about doing is we've partnered up with a local distillery and helped them formulate a sanitizer. So my plan is to continue to pay my employees and use them as staff at the distillery to make the sanitizer for the first responders in our area.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's the coolest thing I heard.
Right? That's so great.
Putting that. That is a great story.
We actually, the story was picked up by our local news media, and they did the story on us on Friday, which was pretty awesome. But that's one of our plans. Is if we're going to continue to pay them with this program, and we can utilize them in other ways, even if we close our business temporarily.
That is great.
Getting creative.
Yes, very cool.
Thank you.
And then we just had one comment on the side that says, do whatever you can to show support for your community and also tell your story so that your customers see what's going on. Share, share, share. We couldn't agree more. And then Mark Heyman said, remember to place your oxygen mask over your face before helping others around you. Remember to take care of yourself. Be nice to yourself. I think that's a perfect way to end it. I'll show you where the exits are. Thank you, Mark. That's a perfect way to end our call today, so I appreciate that. Thank you to Zach for being our speaker today, and to the ABA to loaning you off to us for the hour. And thank you, everybody, for being on the call again. We'll do this again next Tuesday, so hope you're available.
Thank you. This is very informative. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Great. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
I don't know how to end it. There we go.